Internet algorithms now control a lot of what news people consume, what content they see on social media, and what products they might want to buy. What started out as a way to personalize content has become extremely divisive in cases, forcing many people into bubbles of one-sided content. With artificial intelligence now powering more algorithms, could this mean even more problems down the road? We're going to discuss this topic next on Today in Tech. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Today in Tech. I'm Keith Shaw. Joining me on the show today is Michael Wilkowski. He is a security and telecommunications expert and CTO of a company called Silent8. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Hello. Hi. Thank you very much for coming.
Yeah, you're coming to us from Poland today, so it might be a little bit of a lag with the internet. But can you start out by telling me a little bit about the problem of where this started to begin? Because a lot of this we can see now, but I want to see if we can get to the point of where this all started, because it did start as an innocent way to personalize content for people, right? And then it got down to this rabbit hole.
Yes, it's a very good actually question. It started gradually, like I feel like no one noticed that actually how much AI and all this technology and social media and and global bubble like actually took over. Where it started was actually first with Google and Facebook. Mm-hmm. What seemed innocent at the beginning, which was keyword search and a normal search for documents, turned into very sophisticated machine learning based technology, which tracks us like everywhere and whatever we do and learns a lot about our patterns and how we live. So it's a history of almost like more than 10, maybe 15 years from till now.
And so what are some of the problems that we're seeing now is, for example, if you are looking at a news feed, whether it's on Google or on Facebook or other social media, if you start reading certain types of articles, the engine then thinks, well, he liked that one or he read that one for a long time, so let's send him even more content. And then before you know it, you're seeing just one side of an issue if it's political, or you only get content around the things that you like. Now, some people would argue, well, that's good. I only want to read articles of things that I'm interested in. But that could potentially be bad, right?
Oh, yes. When I started to use internet, it was late 90s, last century. Internet was really free. I mean, like everyone worldwide had access to the same content, and everyone could read the same content. And when I typed something in the search engines by then, I could see the same results from Poland as people from Russia, from United Kingdom, or from US. Today, there is so much content that all these engines are so sophisticated actually to filter out the content for us. That we never see the same content in various locations or like even readings or having different patterns. All these machines, they learn very quickly how we behave, and they very quickly pick up these patterns and serve only content that we actually started to read. For me, it is not a blessing. For me, it is a curse that sometimes I even catch myself that I'm afraid of clicking something because I'm afraid that YouTube, Facebook, or any other social media, actually any search engine, will quickly learn that pattern, and I'll be only served that kind of content in the future. So I sometimes try to use incognito mode or various technologies to actually avoid that, so I can be really free. I mean, next time I can see something like else, not the same.
Yeah, it's tricky for me on the news and journalism side of things, because when you are looking for news and particular items of things to talk about on the show, for example, you get served up usually the topics that you've already covered and you've already read and you've already researched, and it's very hard to then try to find something that's new that we haven't read of or heard of before, yes, unless you get into some of these buckets of content that you see. I
would say.
Go ahead.
I would say it's even worse than that. It's for me. It is the problem that when I was younger, I thought, oh, finally with internet, we are coming to this like global village that everyone will have access to every content. But what I see now happening is that people in certain communities, in small towns, like that belong to certain groups, they very quickly get categorized by these machines into certain like groups, certain categories, certain like bubbles.
Yeah.
And then they stick to these bubbles. So it's enough for you to just click few articles from like local Facebook, from maybe local community, from local town government or something, and then you will keep being served news only from that bubble. So it's instead of you going outside and really see so many like richness of that internet, you just stick to certain content which you started to read at the beginning. It is well, for me it is curse, not a blessing.
Yeah, there's another problem I want to bring up and see if you have an opinion on this. Is especially with Google, for example, I get on my For You Google News feed, I get a lot of content that I don't want. For example, they give me stories about Jeopardy all the time, and it's usually news about the host, whether it's Ken Jennings or Milan Balik, and I don't want to read anything about Jeopardy. I don't know why they keep serving me Jeopardy news. Maybe it's because on this podcast I keep saying Jeopardy, but when I tell it not to and say less of this content, less of this content, less of this content, the algorithm ignores that. And I think the only thing I can think of is that because I do like stories of video games and computer games, that the algorithm decided, well, video games and Jeopardy are the same thing, so I'm going to keep feeding you this Jeopardy content. Is there a potential other reason, or is it maybe that the algorithms are just ignoring me? Go ahead.
You are a victim of statistics. You're a victim of how machine learning and recommendation algorithms work. They learned, they ignore certain cases. What they do, so-called outliers, what they learn is that majority of people that read about that topic or read about computer games, they also like the topics which you're being served. And machine takes your input and likes that, and then potentially gets that feedback to the feedback loop internally that there are some people that actually, maybe wouldn't like to be served that type of content, like Jeopardy in your case. But actually, you're minority. Mm-hmm. So because you're a minority, the machine still decided, okay, you will keep getting served this type of data, of this type of content, because most of the other people like that.
Yeah.
So
all right, I keep trying, and I keep telling Google, please stop sending me Jeopardy news. Or
you have to start clicking some other content or going somewhere else, so maybe it will learn some other patterns or categorize you differently.
Yeah,
but it takes time.
Yeah,
it takes time.
And so the other thing that I think we talked about before the show was ads that get served up to you based on certain shopping habits or just certain web traffic that you're doing. For example, I needed to buy a new lawnmower, a couple months ago, and I went and did some research by searching some different, like Home Depot and some other stores, found the thing that I wanted, found the mower that I wanted, went and bought it, and then ever since then, every ad that's being served up to me is for lawnmowers, which I don't need anymore because I've already purchased it. It's like that there's no way to tell the algorithm, hey, I don't need this lawnmower anymore. And even the methods of trying to tell people that you're not interested in a particular ad, they hide the little X, or it's very hard to get rid of. And that seems to be a problem as well. Do you experience that too?
Yeah, so I have similar experience, and I can tell you how we can avoid that. So you have to start looking for something else, some other article which the machine will pick up and stop suggesting you.
Well, I guess I have to start searching and shopping for more different items that I never want to buy or might want to buy at some point. It really takes the job of looking and browsing for products to buy. It really makes it an ugly experience, because as soon as you express some kind of interest in something, you get pounded with the same ads over and over again.
Yes, and that's with everything. So what the machine doesn't learn is actually that you made that purchase, and they don't know that. But look, I think that this is coming. So one day you can imagine Amazon being united with maybe Google, and one will learn about you searching for something, the other knows that you actually purchased it. So maybe this time, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if
you need something else.
I don't know if that's going to be beneficial or terrifying if Amazon and Google teamed up together like that.
Exactly. But trust me, this is where this is heading.
When did you start to notice that things were going from this innocent idea of personalization to something that's more divisive if we're talking news articles and political viewpoints? Is this something that you can blame Google and Facebook for, or, was there another switch that happened at some point?
Well, I don't know who I should blame, because it's maybe us who actually, who behave in certain manner, just these companies that serve this content, right? Because they learn that that's what we prefer. But I learned that actually pretty late, I would say. So it was like 6-7 years maybe ago. Because of the way I operate. So like my company is mostly, or I'm like professionally focused in finding information about certain parties or entities across the world. And I needed to, and I tried to get the different view about various parties from different perspectives. And it turned out that I actually very quickly learned that what I'm limited to is limited the view based on my location. So I started switching or using some technologies like VPN and few others to change my location, like for virtual location. And it turned out that I'm getting completely different answers and completely different content. And that was the moment, like, it's not that it was new by that time, but that was the moment when I realized how advanced it was and how sophisticated these algorithms became. It was like, but it actually all started like around like 15 years ago, in the first decade of this century, where they started really personalizing that content for us, especially with Facebook, I would say, and Facebook feeds.
And wasn't it something where they were switching from keyword searches to more machine language models and data models and algorithms and things like that? And we've discussed on this show how AI algorithms sometimes can't explain why it gives you that list. And again, that's probably why I can't figure out why it's recommending Jeopardy to me, for example.
These algorithms, they learn on huge data sets.
Yeah.
They learn on huge data sets. So even if you provide feedback to these algorithms, like you click on a few elements that you don't like, it doesn't mean that this machine will pick it up like immediately, because you are just a minority in that big feedback loop. So it takes time to actually relearn your pattern, or maybe change that based on your personal preferences. And this is definitely coming from the from the place where, like, in the past, there were keyword searches where the keyword searches were based on the content of web pages, where you typed a few words and the machine actually checked these few words, whether they existed in that page or not.
Yeah,
that was actually Google, started via started. But now what the machine does is actually learns based on what we type. And based on like what actually people click and what they look for, the machine learns what we may be actually looking for based on like millions of people doing it before us.
Right.
Because that's how all these big models work.
So how does this then continue to develop with either generative AI or new AI technologies that could potentially make it worse for people? Because I could see it going both ways. You've mentioned before that this could get better with the teaming up of what you buy versus what you're looking for. And it feels like AI could help you do that in a better way. Or does it get worse, where it starts to get even more divisive with the content that it sends you, so that you only get one perspective and then you're living in this bubble somewhere?
I rather believe in that second scenario.
Yeah.
So what I think is going to happen is this machine will learn even more and more and more on our patterns. It's not in anyone's anyone's interest to provide us a holistic view of like how world operates. It's this company's job to actually sell us ads and sell us content, and they do it by providing potentially what is addictive to us, what is that we immediately may want, or what we have seen in the past, and all these algorithms try to make sure that we stay in front of the computer, we keep like reading and staying within these small bubbles. I'll give you an example. In the past, there were lots of at the very beginning, like of the internet, there were lots of portals that actually people visited to check for something, to go to learn, to read articles.
Yep.
Today you have Google, where you go immediately and you start with. So it's like almost everyone starts with Google. So it means it is the first filter. It is the first place which has a power to actually tells you where to go, right? There may be millions of valuable web pages which you'll never see because Google will never tell you they exist. Now you think, okay, I'll not go there, so maybe I'll go to, Medium, another powerful place which keeps like potentially learning your patterns and sending your content. So here is another is Facebook, right, which is actually trying to. So what is Facebook's trying? It is genius. They are trying to even attach you to your phone, because why would you even type? Why would you even try to look for content?
Yeah.
Don't bother. We will serve it for you. Just click, open the Facebook icon and everything will be there, right? So you will have infinite scroll. You will have infinite content. You will have lots of, potentially interesting or somehow addictive social media and it's infinite. Right, it keeps popping up and it keeps popping and I think where it is really heading is in the direction that there would be more and more and more learning of our patterns, and the machines will very quickly probably ask us what we want. So maybe instead of us typing something, there will be actually we're very close to it. There will be voice recognition. So we just click and say, oh, this is what I'm interested in, and there will be more content. Of course, this content will be always served from someone or potentially sponsored by someone,
Yeah.
or they will learn this. It will start innocent, right? That you may want to learn, oh, I'm interested in music. So you will get a content about music. But actually what they will learn is, oh, maybe you want to purchase an instrument, or maybe they will sell you some music, or maybe
Yeah.
you want to get a Spotify subscription, or maybe something else, right? So it will be always about that, about attaching you to a specific application, about attaching you to Facebook and not letting you go outside. That's what all these portals try to do. They try not to let you go, because the longer you stay with them, the more grip they have on you.
Yeah.
The more they learn about your patterns, the more valuable you are. You are a product.
Yeah,
you're not a
it does.
You are a product there.
It does feel like that the addition of revenue and productization and monetization have really gummed up the works in terms of what companies are showing you, because they want to make money and they want to sell advertising around it, which goes against that original idea of the internet of, oh, free content, free information for everybody, and it's the information superhighway and all of those other lofty goals. Could this also be used as a way for companies or even more insidious governments to start censoring content and preventing you from seeing other content? Or is it still available out there if someone has an open mind and wants to find alternative opinions and things like that? Or does that, once the algorithm sees that, it then starts bringing you down a path that you might not want to go down?
My personal experience, I try to look for various content which is non-mainstream content, I would say so, or when I try to look for something which is out of the box, and it is very difficult. It is already today very difficult. So I believe it will become even more difficult over time, and because it's not in very interest. In the interests of these big companies is to sell us paid content or keep us within their grip. So what I believe is that there will be various actors, governments, companies with big pockets, maybe someone else who will pay these big techs to serve us specific content and to keep us within that grip. So I don't believe that the internet will be free.
Again, and again, I believe with paid content, you can pay money to get your content or your product or anything to get higher up in the results. In fact, I
you will not even know that it is sponsored. But today you have like sponsored links, so you know it's sponsored. In the future, you will not even know that it's sponsored. It will be.
I want to get back to that in a second, but I also noticed that, for example, the Google doesn't even have pages anymore. And I don't know, maybe that's a setting that I've changed, but on my search results, if I scroll down, it doesn't say go to the next page anymore. And it always used to be get on the first page of Google. That was always the big SEO thing. But now it's just load more. And you've got a single scroll, and it's still mostly, paid content. You never get out of that quote unquote mainstream bubble. All right. So I'm going to ask you another question. Related to that, alternative opinions, for example. So I'm just going to use an example of, all right, I want to learn more about UFOs and aliens and things like that. And you start going, if you could type that into Google and you'll get sent to some really, odd bloggy type sites. And it's hard to figure out what they're doing or if they're still part of this machine. And I don't know, but I don't want Google to know that I'm looking for content about aliens, because then I don't want to be branded as one of those tinfoil hat guys.
So first, it's like if you so I don't want to. So first, it's impossible to reach that content if you don't use like Google or maybe some other like known search engines or like maybe Bing or DuckDuckGo. They all claim that privacy is like very important for them. That's the claim, but it's all about data and about you being a product, and so they will learn. Now we think like whether this is like this is actually an interesting question, which you mentioned is it a real or is it fake, or what is fake and what is fake news? Like frankly speaking, no one knows. So like just like in the past, there were people that were saying things, and maybe there were others that did not necessarily believe them. Today, there is no way for you to actually not even discover whether this was or distinguish whether this was created by the machine or maybe by a human.
Right, and it's going to get even worse, isn't it? Because you've got generative AI that can now create news out of thin air, and they can just start writing articles not necessarily based on any factor or source, right?
Yes. So today, first is so like if you look on the history of in general like writing, and you start on the like a traditional journalism and newspapers that were, let's say, pretty reliable. Of course, there was propaganda there, but it was like sponsored propaganda and potentially like for some reason. But in general, I would say the quality of that was like very high. Then when the internet started, I still have memory of that content being like and the quality of that content being very high. But with the really like huge amount of data getting like created over time, there is lots and more questionable quality, like content of questionable quality. But today you cannot even say whether this is low or high quality, because it's the matter of no one like over time you may not even know what is true, what is not. It will be a matter what is more successful in terms of reach to the audience. So it may turn out that someone may create content which is completely untrue, but if many people, if many people share that content, if many people click it, if multiple like people like repeat that and machines and keep saying, then this fake news becomes true. And we are seeing it today. We are seeing this, that there is a fake content which people keep sharing, and it almost like becomes like reality, or at least people believe it's reality.
Right.
And with machine and generative AI, that will become even more and more common.
Well,
So you there, like, I believe there will be no way for you to really like distinguish whether something is true or not. And it will even look like created by a human. You will even have a history of that person. You will even have some credibility, and you will not even have a way to like check whether this is true or whether that person really works there, right? Like, well, you will go to the university and check the website of the university if someone has a PhD or something.
So we're gonna go down a road where we're faking credibility at that point. Then it sounds like. Oh boy!
Yes, you may see websites created by PhD, some doctors, some some professors which do not exist. So,
but wouldn't that bring people back to trusting brands that they've trusted before, like mainstream media sources, whether it's where you could tell that the news source has a system of gatekeeping to at least try to find the truth? Or is it now that you can just get enough people to yell that well, this site they're already a leftist site, or this one's all far right wing, and so I don't want to read anything from these guys anyway. I don't trust. The trust in media is about as high as the trust in government at this point.
Well, I think unfortunately people are lazy by its nature. Because by our nature we are lazy. I don't think we are going to spend too much energy on actually looking for credible sources. Of course, there will be units that will keep looking and searching and reverting to these credible sources. Although these credible sources also have their own challenges because they also learned from the same sources as many other people. So it will take them even more time and more energy to filter that content. Mm-hmm. That will be their job now. There are known examples, right, of even lawyers who used some content which they thought was true and it turned out to be faked, right? One of the famous cases in US.
Yep.
So everyone can be a victim of that, even credible, even well-known journals. I think, unfortunately, most of the people will keep scrolling. I mean, most people
won't even think about it for 5 seconds because then they'll be on their next. Yes. They'll be on the next item in their feed. You wrote an article for The Hill that said that you believe that over the next 10 years, people are going to stop visiting websites and reading news sites. Which will end up with a lot of professional journalism and editing jobs that were going to be going away. And what are those going to be replaced by? Like, how are the majority of people going to be getting their quote unquote news or even information or content?
Well, I'm afraid that I don't know. I mean, and this is what actually terrifies me. So there will be what is really coming. What is really coming is that generative AI and all these algorithms will be so good. They are already very good. I use them in my work, right? I see the progress, and they will be so good that actually it will turn out that we don't really need to even, like you said, we don't even need to go and type and search and actually even exercise our brain. We'll just type what we think we need, and an AI assistant will serve everything that we need, or that we think we need,
or what the AI thinks you need,
or the AI thinks that actually yes, or things that we need, and that means that, and we will not even know. Like today, if you go to the website, you learn from website, you at least know from which website you learned that, right? So, or where you read it. So you can still go to the footer, you can still check the author, you can still check the address bar. Is it from maybe coming from some known source? Who's an author?
Yeah.
It's for you to check like who created that content with AI, or with look on generative AI on OpenAI today. It serves you answers, but it doesn't tell you how it learned that, right? What's the source? It just tells you, well, A, B, C. It gives you facts, but it doesn't tell you how it verified facts. So there is no way for you even to say that you will just either believe it or not. But because we people are like I said, lazy, we'll never question AI, right? We'll not question, okay, prove it to me that it's true, or prove it to me how you learn it, prove it to me how you verify that. No, we will just ask a question and we will get an answer. and AI will keep keep us in a grip.
That makes
and it will be like in this science fiction movies, right?
Yeah. Well, that makes me want to just go off the grid completely and just start living in a cabin somewhere. Because you tried to do this?
I tried. Okay. I'm a CTO and I shouldn't say that, but I tried in terms of not using Facebook, for example. So I'll give you an example. Like this is my personal opinion, right? But I try not to use Facebook because because it's noisy and I don't like being search feed, which I don't like. And so I prefer the so-called old way. So for example, if I need to go to the restaurant, I prefer that I go to Google. I search for the website of the restaurant. Then I find information about the restaurant. I can find a menu there, maybe photos or how do I get there, etc. All I need.
Okay.
No, unfortunately today, most of the restaurants learned that their customers use social media, not regular websites. So most of these restaurants have, profile pages in Facebook and not in
So they're not building their own website. Yeah, they're not.
So
building
whenever
their own
I need to learn that, I have to. Yeah, so I have to read learn from Facebook, which I hate to use it. So I mostly rely on my wife there. Okay, I have my account which I use it for there, but just for maybe for this purpose. And the problem, for example, I have that for example, if I went off the grid, I have no idea about the local shows that happen in my local community. So whenever there is any show, any party that my children can go, or we can anything organized by our local community, it's always my wife's telling me so, because she always learns that from Facebook, because Facebook is so common that if you are not you're not using Facebook proactively, you are off the grid. You don't know what is happening outside, right? So you cannot just go outside and learn and read that, there will be some public show or something happening. You read it on Facebook. You don't have Facebook, you're bad. You never learn. You learn by accident and usually after. so that's my problem being off the Facebook. Of the grid.
All right. What about some other technology tools that can kind of stop some of these trackers and algorithms? What do you think about using a VPN to basically hide your location or your identity or whatever content? And the whole issue of cookies, for example, please, not accepting cookies, because whenever I visit a new website, that thing always pops up, and I just say, oh, fine, feel free to track me. Should I start basically rejecting all the cookies? What other settings? Are there other settings that you can do to tell these sites and algorithms that you're not that please stop tracking me type of things? Or is it too hard for people to do this? Again, this goes
so
back
I have to say it's not easy. Yeah, so I have to say it's not easy. Yeah. The best tool you can use, the best tool that every person can use for today is to use DuckDuckGo. It's not I'm not associated with them, so it's not not a commercial, but that's what I like. Well, that's what I do because based on my professional understanding, their privacy is actually standards are highest, but it doesn't mean that it will not change, right? Over time, it's just a matter of time when they may realize, okay, it's time to change the business model.
It's time to start making money.
Start making money. So it's just a matter of, like I said, of time. And I'm not having any, not having any doubts about that. I mostly use VPN myself, but it's not easy. So first is I use VPN. I use Tor, which is Tor network.
Okay,
and that plays pretty well, but unfortunately, some of these content providers, especially especially Google, they block Tor. DuckDuckGo not, but Google, for example, blocks Tor. That many times, if you try to connect to Google from VPN network or from Tor, they tells you that this network traffic seems suspicious. It's blocked. You need to resolve CAPTCHA or maybe something else. So it's basically creating obstacles. So that's they know what they are doing, right?
Yeah.
they don't want you to hide, so they create you obstacles. So you actually do it, the traditional way. So it's not easy for a regular person actually to use VPN or to use Tor. You usually need to use DuckDuckGo together, because DuckDuckGo doesn't do that actually. So it's a plus for them.
Okay.
Next thing is, still these companies are smart and they learn that something is off. Because even if they don't discover that you are using VPN, which they usually do, or that you are using Tor, which they usually do, they still can discover that you may potentially be faking your location based on, for example, your local time. So what they do is they check what is the time set on your local machine. They can do that. There are techniques to do it actually pretty easily in JavaScript. And they can very quickly discover where you are located based on that. That actually you don't look like living in the US, since your time zone is in Poland, for example, right? So that's one of the examples. And again, they can start blocking you by saying something is off or something is suspicious. And another example is for example, they quickly, very quickly know that based on your original settings. So because our browsers, they serve content, they say what is our preferred language. Then based on that language, they also usually discover the content. That's why my personal settings in web browser is that English is my primary language. For example, Polish language is removed, so I'm not discovered. I'm like international, but that creates, for example, another set of problems, that whenever I visit Polish government websites, it discovers me as a foreigner, and it serves me like, I would say, general content. So I cannot use public services, for example, because it discovers me. Oh, you're probably a foreigner, right? So like read about something, but you cannot use this service.
So it gives you all the happy news. It gives you all the happy news from Poland, not any of the
yes, for example.
interesting
but I
news.
cannot, like, for example, log into to some portals, right, with my like account or my ID, because it thinks like I'm not a Polish citizen, right? So there are some problems. But if you know what you are doing, you can.
Yeah.
But it requires some effort, and really it requires some that you have to be stubborn. I mean, you cannot give up. You have to discover which pages actually, try to block you, which not, and requires some pattern. And you very rarely can do it easily from phone. I mean, you can do it pretty easily from in front of the computer, but right. from your phone, it's much more difficult.
Does this mean that it's basically impossible to prevent these algorithms from tracking us?
For a regular person, like. No, it's not impossible, but it's difficult.
Okay.
It's difficult.
All right, and then obviously the other alternative is just to throw your computer out the window and ditch your phone. Right?
Yeah, and sit home, because if you think that you are going to visit some local shows, you will never learn that they take place, because
then they start tracking your credit card number and your purchases that way,
Yes.
I wanted to ask you a question about. Some of the stuff that's been going on in China and Europe with TikTok. A lot of governments there are telling TikTok, for example, to change the algorithm so that you don't necessarily stream people and the end users objectionable content. Can we demand more from these companies to start doing that and stop giving us content that we've already seen, or start giving us a variety of better content rather than leading us down certain rabbit holes? Because again, end users in China see a completely different TikTok than users in the US, not necessarily because of language, but because of topics. It's like, I've heard that Chinese TikTok users get more on education, for example, whereas, in the US, it's more about potentially more dangerous types of activities or just dumb dances.
Yes. So I think this is exactly the role of government. That's something that I wouldn't expect from us consumers.
Yeah.
That's not our role. It's exactly something that I would expect regulators to do. And that's their job today. Unfortunately, they are under very heavy influence from these lobbies. They have lots of money and they have lots of power. So it's not easy, but that's exactly what I would expect governments. So that's their job, and that's what we see happening in China. Unfortunately, that may mean that the government decides, okay, if we actually told them that serve certain like educational content, why not maybe also like tune it a bit,
Yeah.
right? To be occasional in certain manner, right?
Right, and or insert certain
politically correct,
political opinion that their side
Yes.
believes in. Michael, this was a really dark episode. So, can you leave me with some optimism here? Is there any hope, or are we just basically into this bottomless black hole?
Well, so the good news which I'm seeing is that actually the governments and politicians discovered that. So they discovered that, and I'm seeing this, for example, in Europe, the Intelligence Act, Artificial Intelligence Act being processed,
Yeah.
which is about artificial intelligence being, strictly governed and supervised. And I think this is where the hope lies. So if I don't believe that the big tech companies will regulate themselves. What I believe is that governments will pave the path, and I see their like strong role in this. So
And
that's where I feel like optimistic.
And in theory, if you're a citizen that's concerned about this, talk to your representative, or at least try to communicate with them rather than just
Yes.
scrolling on your phone
Yes.
for a while. Actually go out and communicate with some of your representatives, right?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, Michael, thanks for being on the show today. Some great topics and a lot of things to think about. So thanks for being on the show.
Thank you very much.
All right, that's all that's all the time we have for today. Please sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, add any comments that you have below. Join us every week for new episodes of Today in Tech. I'm Keith Shaw. Thanks for watching.